Good afternoon, everybody. It's Mike the Bowtie Writer here. Happy Tuesday. So it occurred to me, with NaNoWriMo getting into gear, there's going to be an increase in the number of people who suddenly find themselves living with writers. Now, if you ask me, living with a writer is perfectly charming, but I will concede that there are some unusual challenges to this living arrangement. These loved ones who have to suddenly live with a writer might encounter some challenges that they weren't expecting. I wanted to address those loved ones directly. Therefore, loved ones, I now present to you tips for the care and feeding of your writer this November. Number 1 is proper hydration. Proper hydration is important because it avoids any headaches or irritability, neither of which are terribly conducive to writing more words. While the exact beverage does vary from writer to writer, you can't go wrong with trying either tea or coffee in copious quantities. If you happen to have a nocturnal writer, remember to stick with herbal tea or decaf coffee, lest they stay up all night long. Number 2, keep proper snacks handy. Keeping proper snacks handy is an important way to keep your writer regularly fed. Regularly fed writers are important because they're going to be more creative. On top of that, you avoid the dreaded hangry housemate, which is never fun for anybody. Personally, I suggest cookies as a snack, but that's just because I really love cookies. Number 3, feel free to ignore any gleeful cackling about characters. You have to understand that your loved one, as a writer, is going to have a collection of characters that they are putting into their story. But these characters are not pets, and they are not real people. Your writer friend is going to alternate between doing terrible, terrible, terrible things to these characters and laughing gleefully all the while about the terrible things that they do to them. That's okay. This is perfectly normal for a writer and nothing at all to be concerned about. Speaking of things to ignore, another one is that your writer might have some very unusual mood swings. You see, writers tend to oscillate between two separate extremes. One is they might be thrilled about how wonderful and amazing this book is. This book is awesome. On the other, they might be convinced that this book is utter trash. This book is just no good. And so, they oscillate between these two extremes. That's perfectly normal for living with a writer. So if they tell you it's going great and then burst into tears 2 minutes later, that's nothing to be concerned about. Remember that on average, we're fine. Lastly, don't pressure your writer to see what it is that they're working on. Books are extremely personal objects, and writing a book is an extremely personal process, particularly when you're writing a first draft. There's all these blemishes and ugly stuff in the draft that even a writer doesn't particularly like. So as a consequence, when they're working on NaNoWriMo, you shouldn't be pressuring them to see what it is that they're working on. They might not want to show you, and that's okay. They may not want to show you for any number of reasons. It could be you're not the target audience for the book. It may be that it's just a book they want one specific person to read. It could be that it's just not ready for you. So that's fine. Be accepting of this. Don't pressure them. That's only going to make them more anxious. If they haven't shown it to you, that's okay. That doesn't mean that your writer doesn't care about you. It just means that they're not ready. Be supportive, be encouraging, and simply let them choose the time. I do want to acknowledge that with NaNoWriMo, there is a possibility for some very significant disruption to routine. That can cause some very real challenges for people. Therefore, from every writer who's suddenly started telling friends, I'm off working on a book, I've got stuff to do, for every single writer who's had to suddenly cancel stuff because they've got to do their words for the day, I just wanted to say thank you to all the loved ones who help and support us as we do this. Thank you for all that you do. We couldn't do this without you. So I'm Mike the Bowtie Writer. That's all I have for this week. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like or subscribe. That really does help me out. I'll be back every Tuesday with more content for you. Until then, be kind to yourselves. Enjoy and chase your stories. I will talk to you all next time.